hold on. I need to collect my thoughts. No time to collect my thoughts.
Collection.
I'm going to give you this job. Then you will not be so quick to push the button.
Deal.
Should we get started with questions right away, or should we actually talk about what we're doing right here, right now?
Welcome to this week's YAWA episode. Part 2. Episode, I don't know, something. Pop up a number here. Wherever we're at in this game. This is part 2 of this week. If you missed part 1, go back and watch it. If this is your first time to the channel, hit the subscribe button. And we like to give you announcements about what we're doing, answer some questions, and incorporate some shenanigans whenever we have possibilities. So what we are working on first is questions. And so you folks know, these questions come directly from the comments in this video. So next week we will be skimming through your comments, throw them in there. Funny stuff we'll incorporate, questions we'll answer for you, and obscenities we will delete. So
beep. Funny you should mention things that are funny.
Okay, what do we got?
Aaron Mumblu.
Ooh.
Thank you for answering my question.
You're very welcome.
A lot of good info. Also, I feel like me and plenty other subscribers would really enjoy watching Ethan sip on some bourbon, Kat talk about dog training, all while there are baby goats jumping around in the background. I vote yes on the goats. I vote yes on the goats too.
No on the goats.
Absolutely yes.
First of all, where are we going to do this? Where do you think we're going to set this stuff up that you're going to be able to watch goats all nimble-bimbling behind us?
I haven't completely thought that out yet, but you know, I will come up with it. If you give me the okay on goats, I will come up with the perfect arrangement for them.
If we build it, they will come.
Yes, I think that's exactly what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And I think that's exactly what a lot of people were saying on YouTube. We got a ton of comments about yes to the goats. Somebody, Chet Cotton said to get llamas instead.
Watch out, they spit.
No, those are camels.
I learned that from a Disney movie, so it's got to be accurate.
All your factual information comes from Disney movies nowadays.
Yep.
So I think we should get goats and maybe some llamas. I mean, throw them in there. Why not?
Well, right now, why not is the fact that we have CRP everywhere and can't effectively put animals on them without buying that out.
Only till 2026, though.
Oh, so
future goals.
Stay tuned, folks. We'll have some goats in a while.
That's only like 6 years from now.
Rock and roll, baby.
Aiden will be the perfect age to take care of them. It will be his little 4-H hobby farm thing. I like it. So I'm going to answer a question now.
Okay.
Not just talk about goats. From Tyler Cook.
Hey, Tyler.
First, love your channel and all of your content. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
I have a 13-week-old GSP named Paisley.
Paisley, I love it.
I have moved through Target here and sitting with positive reinforcement clicker training.
Fantastic.
Just started free shaping place training with positive reinforcement using her crate, and she is doing great. I just got her a cot style bed and was curious if I continued her place training with the bed and the crate, would that confuse her? Should I stick with one physical place this early in the game? And I was like, we have got to answer this question because A, if you've been following along with some of our other videos, you will know about our new little lab puppy, Clutch, who is adorable. If you don't know about Clutch, then you should be subscribing and hitting notifications so you know about him and get to see him in these cute little videos we're doing of him.
Yes, absolutely.
We just did a place training, free
video.
shaping video today.
Yes, and he made it look stupid easy. And sometimes it's like, yeah, you get this like, haha, you did that really well. Because I like to say that our dogs are smart, and I honestly believe that your dogs are as smart. The biggest difference is, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, is the person that is training them makes a difference. And with that comes timing. And I believe that somebody brought this up.
We're getting
to that. So
we'll get
timing.
there next.
Remember the timing aspect of things. But all that being said, he went through this, and you're going to have to watch. It's going to come out here in the next few days to a week. he did stupid fast. I was like, all right, we might have to set up a time lapse on this one because it could take a while, 20, 30 minutes of a session, waiting for him to make micro movements toward the place board, and we mark something similar, but he got lucky right off the bat and understands the clicker, and the rest of it you're just going to have to watch in the video, but it looked really good.
And free shaping, for all of you that may be just tuning in and learning about what free shaping is, it is basically playing hot and cold with your puppy.
Essentially, that's a good way to explain it.
To get them to exhibit a behavior that we are specifically looking at them to exhibit, whether that's sitting or laying down or getting on a dog bed. And through positive reinforcement and clicker training and good timing, we can shape those behaviors of them getting on their dog bed or whatever the behavior we're working on is, getting in a crate. And because they figured out how to do it on their own, not by baiting, not by manipulating them.
It's reinforcement-based training, right?
Right, yes. And because we didn't bait them onto the bed, because we didn't just pick them up and put them on the bed and reinforce that, because it was their own idea of how to get rewarded, it is so much more powerful. And that behavior is stronger than if we had to, like I said, bait them onto the bed or something like that. So
you get to watch their brains start turning and the gears are working and they're going, what do I have to do? And they may try and jump at you. They may try these things. They may bark, whatever. All of those things. And then when they finally figure it out, this is what you wanted, or this is what I'm going to get rewarded for. It's like repeat, 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 repeat. And it helps to have a dog that has good desire and lots of ability and intelligence and a willingness to work and learn and focus and all of those things. And that comes down to good breeding.
Yes. So to get back to answering your question, Tyler, so it sounds like your puppy's doing a really good job with place training in a crate, and you want to be able to transition onto a dog bed. So my recommendation before starting with the dog bed is, if you have introduced your cue yet of kennel or place or whatever your cue would be to get your puppy to go in their crate, I would want that to be really solid first before necessarily introducing a new place for them to go. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's the other side of it's just going to be dependent upon if they're right next to each other. If they're in completely separate areas, it won't be that big a difference to teach them. You
could even remove one then from
pull
that area.
One out, just work on one thing at a time. And we talk about that. And in this new training series, I'm trying to go step by step, but I'm essentially trying to answer more people's questions. So this is with Clutch. If you're watching through his series, it's a good one, because we're trying to explain a lot of these type of questions that people are asking on a regular basis. Well, how do we do this? How do we do this? We've already seen you teach this, but is this okay or is this okay? And so on and so forth. So in that situation, I specifically talk about when teaching to keep it to one individual thing per session. Ideally, we have a decent understanding before we move on to something new. But as long as it's one thing you're teaching per session, it really doesn't matter as much if they have a strong understanding of that versus that. You're teaching them something new, and eventually you're going to have to build a good understanding of all of the things, but just don't be mix match until you have a really good understanding of multiple things. Don't incorporate them into one session.
That's really great. And I kind of agree with you.
Kind of?
No, I agree with him.
Aha!
But like Ethan was saying, though, with this series, our goal for Clutch in this series, and even with some of the things that we're doing with Thunder, is to fill in the blanks, fill in the holes, fill in the things that we are getting more and more questions about that our previous puppy training series have maybe left out
missed
or
a little bit. Didn't have the opportunity,
the explanation for, or didn't help connect the dots quite as well as we'd like to. I mean, some of these series are, which we've gotten comments on, some of our series from the get-go, they're like, wow, compare then to now, huge difference.
Who thinks we should do some reaction videos? That was one thing I was talking to Kat. We should sit and watch some of our old videos and do reaction videos to those. Throw that in the comments below. Yeah,
somebody actually commented recently on one of our first original Train to Tree videos those were the first ones we did, which were like 9 years ago now.
Yeah, the audio kind of sucks.
Yeah, the audio is
bro,
terrible.
I shot it on my iPhone 7 series ago. I mean,
of course it was terrible. We had no equipment. We had no patrons to help us get cool equipment. So yeah, we've come a long way, and we're hoping to continue progressing with our audio and video and all the things. So it was just really interesting seeing some of those comments recently.
Absolutely.
So to answer, to comment, to bring up the
This is to move into the next thing. Was timing. Yeah, absolutely. So what do we got?
From Shannon Golden. This is a comment on one of our previous YAWAs that we had asked about. What do you guys think? Is timing more important? Consistency more important? Blah, blah, blah. Because we were saying that timing is the most important part of dog training. And we said, hey, if
100%, hands down, the most important.
Yes. And I said, hey, if you don't agree with us, or if you think there's something else that's more important than timing, put it in the comments so that we can talk about it. Because, hey, discussions are good.
Absolutely they are.
So Shannon Golden said, consistency is better or just as important as timing. And I thought that was a good thing to bring up because I believe that consistency is also important, but
I believe that consistency falls in place 2. It's a hard second place. This is not by like 2 or 3 lengths here. This is a hard second place. This is not a photo finish.
Right.
But
it's
it
not
is up
this
there.
Close. It's this close.
Yeah.
So timing is most important, but consistency is also important. And the reason that consistency is not more important than timing is if you're trying to teach a dog something through, let's say, free shaping, like we just talked about, and your puppy gets on the dog bed, hops off the dog bed, and you mark them getting off the dog bed, your timing is off.
Yep.
But then the next time they hop on the dog bed, they hop off the dog bed, you mark again. So you're being really consistent about when you're marking the behavior, but you're trying to teach them to get on the dog bed. And so your timing is terrible. So what is your puppy learning? Hey, I'm getting rewarded for coming off my dog bed. So though you're being very consistent, you're not still teaching the behavior that you're looking to teach. Same with sitting. Like if you're trying to teach your puppy to sit and your timing is off and your puppy sits and then jumps at you and you mark that, and then they do it again and again, and you're super consistent about marking when they're jumping at you, not when their butt's hitting the ground. Your timing is off because you're not marking the sit behavior. And your puppy's learning, hey, jumping at my mom and dad is the best thing ever because I'm getting rewarded time and time and time again.
So essentially, if you're consistently doing the wrong thing,
your puppy learns the wrong thing.
But if your timing is right and you don't do it consistently, you're also not going to teach very fast either. So they are both important.
Yes,
but definitely if you are if you are consistent with what you're doing and it's wrong, you're not going to get any better.
Right. But I also want to say dogs with a lot of focus, a lot of intelligence, don't need as many consistent reps to still get that understanding. Because like we saw with Clutch's training session, and that's what we keep referring to right now because we literally shot that video this morning. So it's really fresh in our minds. 2 timing marks. And he had it.
Had I done them wrong,
yes,
he would have, and that's the key with the free shaping behaviors, right? So and I'm going to ruin this whole video. You're going to have to go watch it, but spoiler alert. But he essentially he made a movement toward touch of the dog bed, and I was able to mark that. And if I had missed that was the first opportunity in that session that he did it. If I had missed that, then it would have not processed in his brain that was something that was important, and he would have potentially not tried that again for quite some time. So the fact that I was focused, ready, paying attention, and my timing was perfect, or very darn close to perfect, means that it helped move forward with that. And if your timing is not right, you will not be teaching the right things, no matter how consistent you are about doing anything. But if you have the right timing and you're not consistent, you're also not going to make progressions very quickly either. So you do need both, but in our opinion, timing is the most important. Consistency comes second.
And we are debating what is third.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll let you know.
But speaking of Clutch, because who can't talk about that cute little ball of black fluff? We had some name suggestions because we still need to come up with a registered name, and we were like, "Hey, give us some input. Why not?" Right? We had some really good ones, and I'm just gonna read a few.
Ooh.
David Polinsky, he had 2 really good ones.
Hey, David.
Lone Duck's clutch performance, and Lone Duck's coming in clutch.
Nice.
I like those. Chet Cotton said Lone Duck's baller shot collar. And Drew Clements said Lone Duck dump the clutch like a race car. Labs just peel out of the blind after ducks.
That is, see, when we did the video, which I don't know if you've seen it yet or not. When we were up there, Bob and I shot a video about the things that we like about labs. And one of those was the explosiveness of them. They go from 0 to 100 in like that. I mean, it is just, they're gone. So dump the clutch is pretty clever. I like that.
Yeah, I like that one too. I also really like Lone Ducks coming in clutch. So we're going to have to do some more percolating on the names and come up with one pretty darn soon. But at least we have his call name now, which is really kind of the most important thing. So we're not saying puppy, puppy, puppy.
So thank you all for throwing those names out there. We really appreciate it.
So I also wanted to talk about this question. And I think it got brought up because we were talking about, becoming a master hunter in our last YAWA, and not every dog has what it takes to maybe become a master hunter, but definitely a dog being handled by a professional versus somebody that doesn't necessarily know what they're doing. Those dogs might have the potential of getting there had they not been handled by an amateur.
Sure.
So this question I thought was really good from Eldon Filco. Filco. So sorry. I need binoculars. No, what are those? Binoculars? Bifocals. Whatever.
We could just turn the settings up to old lady on there.
Yeah, I need those. Could you guys go over the order and process of Master Hunter certification and such? And at what point is it out of the reach of someone learning to train their own dog versus professionals like you?
Well, anybody can do it. The thing that I think eats up a majority of people that attempt is the insane amount of time, effort, and energy that goes into just the testing process alone. It will take you a while to complete the process if you are only testing at your local grounds. If you are not traveling to test, which involves hours, hundreds and hundreds of miles on a pickup truck, and hotels and weekends, and a big commitment. And that's where the average professional finishes dogs faster, because they say, well, this weekend we're going here, next weekend we're going there. And when I get into the spring and I'm running dogs, it's every single weekend till my dogs are done. That starts usually the first weekend in April. Sometimes I squeak
in March.
There's always a test last weekend in March, but the weather is usually iffy enough that you could be running in a snowstorm, and I'm not a big fan of that. So it's essentially the first to second weekend in April. There's usually a little gap. It's like the people in Nebraska there are kind of crazy.
They're like, we are getting a test the first weekend in March. Sometimes there is a test
the last weekend in March. It's always the last weekend in March.
Oh, is it now? Who sends in most of the test entries?
Who attends the tests?
Who puts them on the calendar?
Okay, I lose.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that it's like the 4th and 5th of March a lot of times. Obviously, this year
it's in March. And I am not going to argue with you. I do not know well enough, but I'm almost certain it's the last. Almost certain it is still not good enough to argue with the calendar over here. But then it's every single weekend. Boom, 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 boom. And in the fall, a lot of times that starts in September-ish. And I will go up to Minnesota. Minnesota is somebody had somebody on Patreon that was saying that I was like, where are you from? They're having trouble finding birds. And they're like, Minneapolis. I'm like, you are in like the square center of the bird dog training mecca. You should be able to find somebody with some pigeons for you. So help them out a little bit with that, which is what we can do for a lot of folks. If you're interested, need help, need something else, this up at patreon.com/Standing Stone Kennels. Or if we don't get your question here in the YAWA, Bebop over there, I'm sitting down, keyboard worrying those every single morning. So the long story short, I travel a lot, which gives the dogs a lot more opportunities. If you are going, we're going to go to this test, and you maybe have a single weekend where it's 2 opportunities, or a double where you get 4 opportunities even, you still need 6 passes. And if this is your first time doing it, you're going to make handler mistakes, most likely. And that's going to just extend the process out a little bit. I think the statistics is somewhere in the 20-ish range, plus or minus a few points, of people that start the master test.
20%.
20% of people that start the master process, they enter a master event, start headed down that road. Less than 20% finish.
And to answer...
Not very good numbers.
Not very high percentages, no. To answer your question, too, about what it takes to be a master hunter, I think that title, that word, a master dog, a master hunter, and people sometimes say, I got a master champion. And I don't think that there's a lot of understanding about what it truly takes and what we are talking about when we're talking about a master hunter. So in the AKC Master Hunter Hunt Test, it's not a competition. It's competing against a standard. So it's not first place, second place, third place.
Every dog could potentially
pass if they all do well enough. But what they're looking for is a dog that can stand steady to wing, shot, fall, and then be sent to make a retrieve. So that means the dog goes on point. They stand there until the bird is flushed, until the bird is shot, until the bird hits the ground, and until you send the dog that was on point fetch. Then they get to go make that retrieve, and it has to be returned to hand.
Yep.
Then another part of that is...
And it doesn't have to be a machine like straight out, straight back. That's how you get the best quality score. But it's got to be pretty minimal fiddle farting around. I mean, if they drop bobble at once because the bird's still alive or some other things happen, you maybe have to handle once. You get a lower score, but it's not going to fail you if you have some other options in there to kind of help better.
Yeah, and there's some gray area or, interpretation of exactly what happened in that steadiness sequence too.
But essentially, the bird has to be retrieved to hand.
Yeah, and same with the steadiness. If the dog keeps its back feet there but kind of has to pivot to mark, it's all up to the judge's discretion and what they saw in that exact moment and was that movement necessary and things like that. But these are the general guidelines.
Yep.
Then if another dog goes on point, your dog has to back it without being woed, which that means this dog's on point and ideally the next dog is just pointing that dog without a wind advantage.
Yep. Essentially, you come in and point the other dog, sight pointing. That's what backing would be.
They're not coming in and working up and stealing point in front of that dog. They're not working in until they get a nose full of that bird that other dog is pointing. They are trusting that other dog has a bird located and they're stopping so that they don't ultimately overpressure that bird and make a mistake.
Then ultimately, they have to finish that process by honoring that dog's retrieve sequence. So bird has to be shot, dog has to break, has to make a retrieve in order for it to count. That is what they're looking for.
Yes. So
and all of that stuff then has to be done every single time it pops up as an opportunity. So if you get 12 backing opportunities in a brace, you have to do that 12 times. Now, if you haven't, and the only stipulation with the whole thing is you have to find a bird in order to be eligible at all. If you find a bird, they'll help set up a retrieve. They'll help set up an honoring situation in what's called a callback. But if you don't find a bird, you go birdless.
You don't pass.
You don't pass. You don't have an opportunity to pass.
Yep. So all of those pieces have to be done every single time there's a bird contact opportunity or your dog doesn't pass that test. And they have to pass that 6 times to become a master hunter, unless they have a senior hunter title, and then they only have to pass 5 times.
Yep.
So
exactly.
Just wanted to go into a little more explanation of what it truly means to be a master hunter. Thank you guys for asking great questions. We had fun answering them.
And we'll be back in part 3.